In this video, we will be making 4 servings of a pork and leek stir fry with a Chinese style sauce. To do this, let's start by preparing our ingredients. First, let's start with the pork. Here I have a pork tenderloin weighing around 560 grams. This can be made using other cuts of pork, but tenderloin is lean and soft, making it tasty and much lower in calories than other fattier cuts. Before slicing, I am going to remove any unwanted fat or connective tissue, especially paying attention to the silver skin. Once it is trimmed up, cut this into 3 strips of roughly even thickness. The muscle fibers run lengthways on this piece, so we want to cut this into strips against the grain. You can cut it into whatever size you want, but I prefer thinly sliced pieces like this. Just make sure your knife is sharp to make this process a lot easier. Once cut, put all this into a bowl and add 1 tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch, half a teaspoon of bicarb or baking soda, 1 teaspoon of white sugar, a little pinch of 5-spice powder, 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing cooking wine. Mix this all together, being quite rough to help tenderize the meat. Once everything is mixed together, we can put this in the fridge until we need it for cooking. After washing our cutting board and knife, we can now prepare the leek. I'm using 2 leeks because they are small, but you could also use 1 large leek. First, we need to separate the white and green parts of the leek because they will be cooked slightly differently. I like to cut the ends where the green leaves attach to the stem so that all the leaves separate and we can clean the leek properly. After washing, slice the white parts thinly on a diagonal and set them aside in a bowl. For the green parts, I like to stack a bunch together, lay them flat on the cutting board, and again slice them on a diagonal, but not as thin as the whites because they are more delicate and will wilt down. Once done, they can go into a separate bowl. I also saved a little of the greens and cut them finely to use as a garnish. Next, let's take care of our aromatics. For this dish, I am using 1 dried hot chili, which I am going to soak in about half a cup of hot water. You can also use fresh chili here or chili flakes, or not include chili at all. While this is soaking, chop up 4 cloves of garlic. The easiest way I find to do this is to smash the cloves with the side of your knife first, and then roughly chop each clove. Then you can do another few rough chops until it is fairly fine, before setting it aside in a bowl. Once the chili has been soaking for a few minutes, take it out and also roughly chop it, and add it to the bowl with the garlic. Make sure to save the soaking water as we will use this for cooking later. And the last component to prepare is our sauce. To make this, add to a bowl 1 tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of white sugar, 1 teaspoon of chicken stock powder, half a teaspoon of white pepper, 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing cooking wine, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, and 1 teaspoon of dark soy sauce. Mix this all together and our sauce is complete. Now we can move on to cooking. Stir-fry dishes come together very quickly, so it is important to have all your ingredients prepared and ready to use. I have set up my wok here with everything I need right next to it for easy access. To start, heat your wok on maximum heat until it starts smoking. Add half a tablespoon of high heat cooking oil around the edges and add the white parts of the leek. Spread it around and let it sit for around 10 to 20 seconds, then mix it and let it sit again. We aren't really trying to soften the leek here, just get a little char on it. After around 30 seconds to 1 minute in the wok total, take the leek out and put it back into the same bowl. Next, let's heat the wok on maximum until it starts smoking again and add another 1 tablespoon of oil. Add the pork and spread it around the wok in a single layer. Let this sit for around 1 minute or so to develop a crust. Once you think you have gotten some good browning on one side, you can mix the pork around and spread it out once again to brown for another minute or so. Repeat this a few times until there is no visible pink pork remaining. At this point, add the garlic and chili and stir everything a little more aggressively to separate the individual pieces of meat. After a minute or so, or once you can smell the garlic aroma, reintroduce the white part of the leek and now the green part and mix everything for 30 seconds or so. Then add your sauce. Make sure to stir the sauce before adding it because the corn flour will have set at the bottom. Then rinse out the rest of the sauce using the chili water and add it to the wok. Now we just need to stir everything for 1 to 2 minutes until the sauce reduces and thickens. If you prefer more or less sauce, you can either add more or use less water than what I used. Once everything has thickened to your liking, turn the heat off and add 1 teaspoon of sesame oil and mix that in. At this point, taste a piece for seasoning and add salt if necessary. Mine didn't need any additional salt. The stir fry is now finished, so let it cool down while we cook our rice. For this meal, we are making plain white rice. As a general rule, I like to use half a cup of raw rice per serving, which equates to 2 cups since we are making 4 servings. However, you can use less rice than this if you want to reduce the calories of the dish. To the 2 cups of rice, add water and stir the rice to wash it. I like to wash my rice 3 to 4 times for good measure. Once washed, strain the rice and add it back to the pot with 2 1/4 cups of water, using the same cup you used to measure the rice. I also added a pinch of salt and stirred this in. Cook this on high heat until it starts to boil and there is visible steam. At this point, put the lid on, turn the heat to the lowest setting and set a timer for 12 minutes. Listen to make sure the water is still somewhat boiling, otherwise you might need to increase the heat a little. After 12 minutes, turn the heat off but leave the lid on and let it rest for another 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the rice should be cooked perfectly. A good sign is if there is no rice stuck to the bottom of the pot. Fluff the rice up to let off excess steam and let it cool down for around 10 minutes or so. Now that our stir fry is complete and our rice is cooked, we can evenly distribute this into 4 containers with the rice on one side and the pork on the other side. For reference, these are 1 litre containers. And to finish, I just added the finely chopped leek to the rice for presentation purposes. And our meal prep is done. Let these cool for another 10 minutes or so before putting the lids on and storing them in the fridge for up to 1 week. To serve, just microwave until hot and enjoy. Each serving ended up being 631 calories with 42 grams of protein, 85 grams of carbohydrate, and 11 grams of fat.